I'm Shani Suber, Dean of Instruction and Online Learning at Brookhaven College. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use headings to make your content more accessible, more effectively organized, and more readable for everyone. But I actually want to start by showing you that you already know a lot about benefits of headings just from all the years you've spent reading and writing content. To prove it, let's look at a quick example. Here are two versions of an email. Without even reading through the versions entirely, what text formatting choices can you see that would make one version easier to read than the other? I'm guessing you noticed the way version 2 breaks the text up into smaller chunks, and that most of them start with a short, bold line of text that tells us what information that section contains. These bold lines are headings, and I'm going to give you a few reasons why they are awesome. First, headings provide structure so that any person reading your document can easily tell how it's organized and where to look for specific information. That's especially important when we're talking about content that's much longer than a quick email, like a report or syllabus, for example. Headings also help chunk your content into smaller pieces with clearly stated topics. That can improve readability across the board. Whether we're talking about people with reading and processing related learning disabilities, or those of us who are just short on time and want content that is clear, concise, and easy to skim. Headings can also help break up walls of text by adding white space that will make your content more inviting and easier to read. Here's an example of a page without headings. And here's what that same text looks like when we do add headings. Adding those headings creates extra white space that provides a cleaner layout, makes relationships between content on the page more apparent, and helps the reader focus on the text. Those things can be especially helpful for people with reading disabilities, but there aren't many people who really enjoy looking at wall-to-wall words. So, headings with extra white space are easy ways to make content more reader-friendly for everybody. Headings are also necessary for screen readers to read content effectively. Without getting into too much technical detail, screen readers are programs that a person can install on their computer or another device in order to convert text to speech. So, for example, a student could use a screen reader to have their computer read a website, a digital textbook, or a document out loud. Screen readers are essential for people who are blind and people who are visually impaired. And they can also be really useful for people with certain types of learning disabilities. For example, if a person has dyslexia, a tool that reads text out loud can really transform their reading and learning experience. However, when a screen reader encounters a visually bold or slightly larger line of text at the start of a paragraph, it can't automatically interpret that text as heading without some extra formatting help. So, to make your materials accessible, you'll need to know how to format true headings in the applications that you use to create content. Before I show you how to create true headings, let's do a little thought experiment to help us understand why headings are so essential for screen reader users. Imagine that you're working on a research project. You found a book that seems like a great source, but you don't want to read the entire thing. You just want to find the part that covers your topic specifically. So how do you find it? You might start with the table of contents, right? But what if there was no table of contents, and you just had to read through an entire book, page by page, until you found what you're looking for? That's kind of what it's like for screen reader users when content doesn't have true headings, because they can't visually skim the document to look for lines of bold or larger text. So they have to listen to your entire document just to find out what's in it. And then they have to listen to the whole thing again every time they want to find something specific. When you format true headings, though, these headings automatically create a behind-the-scenes table of contents that a screen reader can read aloud. Then screen reader users can easily browse for content and jump to particular sections. You can see an example of that on the screen. This is a list of the headings that a screen reader found in the syllabus.
Heading list dialog. Headings list view. Course information: 2, 3 of 18. To move to items, use the arrow keys. Introduction to cryptozoology syllabus: 1, 1 of 18. Instructor information: 2, 2 of 18. Course information: 2, 3 of 18. Course prerequisites: 3, 4 of 18. Course description: 2, 5 of 18. Student learning outcomes: 3, 6 of 18. Required textbook: 2, 7 of 18.
A student listening to this list would be able to quickly understand what was in the document and then would be able to decide if they wanted to listen to the whole thing or jump to a specific part. Now that you know why headings are so helpful to various audiences, let's look at how to quickly create them in common applications, starting with eCampus. The reason I like to start here is because it takes very few clicks to turn a line of text in eCampus into a heading. All you need to do is select a line of text and then choose a specific heading in the Format drop-down menu. The default format will be paragraph, but when you click the drop-down menu, it will expand to show options for heading, subheading 1, and subheading 2. Use heading for the main topic or topics in the text item. If there are any subtopics of a main heading, use subheading 1. If subheading 1 has further subtopics, use subheading 2. Adding headings in Microsoft Word works much the same way, just with some extra options for customization. For example, here's a syllabus in Word 2016 on a Windows computer. To create a true heading, first I'll select a line of text. In this case, it's a line of bold text that already visually looks like a heading. Next, I'll make sure I'm in the Home tab. Then I'll go to the Styles setting on the far right to choose one of the heading styles. Once I click one, it will format my selected line of text as that level of heading. This next part is optional, but personally, I like to expand the Styles menu so that I can see all the heading options at once. To do that, I click the tiny icon at the bottom right of the Styles area. Then all I need to do is click a heading style from the expanded Styles pane to apply it to the selected text. Now maybe you're like me and the default look of headings really doesn't do it for you. Well, you'll be relieved to know that the appearance of those headings is customizable. To customize a heading in Word, expand the Styles menu and hover your mouse over a heading style. Then click the triangle icon that appears to the right of the heading name. From the menu that appears, you can either manually modify the look of the heading or quickly update it to match the current formatting of a line of text that you have selected. What I love about this option is that once I have a heading style applied to multiple headings, I can instantly update the look of every one of them just by clicking a few buttons. If you're constantly fiddling with the look of your document, like I am, that can be a real time saver. Another bonus of adding true headings is that you can use them to create a clickable table of contents that everyone can see. It lists every heading in your document and can also include the page number that heading is on. This screenshot shows where the table of contents setting is located in the References tab in Microsoft Word. If you sometimes use Google Docs rather than Microsoft Word to create documents, you can also easily create headings there. Like in eCampus and Microsoft Word, start by selecting the text you want to turn into a heading. Then click the Styles menu in the text editing toolbar of the Google Doc to expand your options. The easiest thing to do is click a heading style in the list and apply it as is in terms of visual appearance. But you can also hover your mouse over a heading style and instead choose the option to update that heading to look like the text you have currently selected. In both Microsoft Word and Google Docs, you may have noticed that there were a lot of different headings on the styles list, and that many of them were numbered heading 1, heading 2, and so on. But how do I know which heading I need to use? I used to think that heading styles were purely aesthetic choices, which meant I would just pick the ones that I thought looked the best in my document. But it turns out that heading styles are labeled 1 through 6 because they're meant to be used in that order to create a nested outline of your document. For that reason, it may be helpful to think of heading styles as being like an organization chart, with heading 1 as the big boss, heading 2 as her direct reports, and then on down the line. The numbers of the headings are used to show the relationships to each other. Heading 1 is usually a page title or the main content heading. It's the most important heading, and there's generally just one heading 1. But there can also be many heading 2s as there are many topics in your document, and as many heading 3s as there are subtopics of heading 2s, and so on. To put that into common college context, here is an outline of the headings from the example syllabus. There's just one heading 1, like I mentioned. And in this example, that heading 1 is the document title, English 1301 Course Syllabus. Heading 2s are used for all the main topics in the document. Here, that would include things like instructor information, course information, and course description. Your heading 2s can also have subtopics if needed, like this example has course prerequisites and student learning outcomes under course description. And if this was a really complex document, one or more of my heading 3s might have their own subtopics, which would be heading 4s, and so on all the way down to heading 6. Important note, it's very common and completely okay for headings in your document to go a couple levels down and then move back up to start another main point, like how this example moves back to heading 2 again after heading 3s are done. You just don't want to skip a level on the way down, say going from heading 1 directly to heading 3. Now that you have learned the technical steps for creating true headings, let's recap the big ideas about why they're important. First, breaking your text into sections and adding headings is a quick and easy way to improve the reading experience for everyone. It helps all members of your audience understand how your content is organized and makes materials easier to look at, read, and process. Second, using headings will dramatically improve the experience of people who are using assistive technology, like screen readers, to access your content. This would include people who are blind, people who are visually impaired, and people with certain types of learning disabilities, for example, dyslexia. Screen reader users really need headings in order to navigate and understand your content. So while you don't actually need to add true headings to 80-word emails like the ones in our first example, you should absolutely use them in your documents and in longer text items on eCampus. Third, we need to use heading style settings to turn a visual heading into a true heading that screen readers can understand. But also keep in mind that true headings can let us do some pretty neat tricks, like quickly updating the look of our text or automatically creating a table of contents. And that's the great thing about headings. They're essential for making your content more accessible for people with disabilities, but they'll also improve the look and functionality of your materials for everyone. To learn more tips for creating accessible materials, visit DCCCD's full accessibility checklist at dcccd.edu/accessibility checklist. The checklist includes headings, but it also covers 9 other best practices that will help you make your materials accessible to people with disabilities and more effective for everyone. You can also access this PowerPoint online. Just use the short link dcccd.edu/A11Y-15 to access this presentation, as well as all the others in the 15-minute accessibility video series. And this concludes another exciting accessibility series video. Thanks for watching.